Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese. And if you didn't know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African-American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. And today we have with us our digital correspondent, Andria Carter. How's it going, Andria?
Just fine, John. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. So what's the chocolate news of the week, Andria?
Well, there are a lot of things. This has been a really big week, John, for a lot of news. But I'm going to start out with something that I just learned. The Ohio Debate Commission just announced very recently the site for the primary debates, I should say, for the gubernatorial and for the U.S. Senate. Central State University, HBCU, it will be the site for the two-day event. The gubernatorial debates will happen on the first night, and the U.S. Senate will be on the second night. I might have mixed them up, but it's going to be March 28th and March 29th. And I think this is the first time that the Central State has been the site of both events, of both debates during the primary. It's a win for Central State. It's a win for Central State alumni. It's going to be broadcast live, and also it's going to be streamed on the Ohio Debate Commission site and everything else. I just want to let everyone know, and as I get more details about who will be debating on the stage, because we have some interesting candidates this year running for the governor and for the U.S. Senate. Some who don't and some do support Trump. So it's going to be interesting to hear what they have to say being on the stage of a Black college campus. So it's going to be interesting. I just want to drop that knowledge to everybody and let everybody know that it's going to happen. But as I get more info, I'll update everybody. Just keep March 28th and 29th on your calendars. Keep them open so you can hear this. But it's been an interesting week for police officers, both on a federal and state level. I will first say that Kim Potter, the former officer who was convicted of killing Dante Wright, was sentenced. She received 2 years, a 2-year sentence. So that means that for time already served, that she'll probably be out in about 16 months or sooner. So a lot of people were upset with the sentence. They felt that she should have deserved more. The judge did show her sympathy for the officer, noting that it was an accident and she didn't intentionally shoot Dante Wright. So therefore she got 2 years. It's interesting to hear that the judge, who was throughout the trial, showed, I would just say she was very objectionable, was by the book. And the fact that she, at the end, sentenced her to just 2 years, sort of saddening, because at least because she's convicted of manslaughter, normally with that type of conviction, you get at least a 5-year sentence and be out in 2. Instead, she got a 2-year sentence, so she may be out in a year to 16 months. So that's the first thing that happened this week. The second news is that 3 gentlemen in the Ahmaud Arbery case were found guilty of hate crimes on a federal level. What was different about their conviction is that the evidence that was not permitted in the state trial in Georgia was permitted in the federal trial. So you got to hear more of who these gentlemen were, what their characters were, and what they said in text messages, social media, and there was a lot use of the N-word. So the gentleman who kindly said he's just a friend and was an innocent bystander, even though he filmed the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, he actually was a deep racist himself. So a lot came out in the trial. So they're waiting to be sentenced, and more than likely they will each receive a life in prison sentence. And they probably will serve all of their sentences in a federal prison, which is a much harder time than a state prison. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I would say William Roddy Bryan was the gentleman who received 25 years, I believe, by the state of Georgia, and he would be eligible for probation after 20 years. He's the one who has the possibility of parole after 20 years, but I don't think that's going to happen now. We'll just have to
Oh
see what
yeah.
the judge decides in this case. So that verdict came down.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you know what? I
so
guess you got to take the wins where you can. Although I'm upset that Kim Potter did not get sentenced, as long as she did, at least the killers of Ahmaud Arbery, at least they got their just desserts. Or
yeah, I mean, the mother was she said it was insulting. This woman will get to go on with her life after she gets out of prison. Her son will not. And, she's very angry. But then again, you have to note that within the judicial system, judges are very lenient about sentencing when it comes to white women.
mm,
They do get sentenced harshly when the crime is warranted, but when it comes to both a white woman and a police officer, there's a little leniency there at
right.
times. But the fact that she was convicted, the fact that she'll never be able to allow to be a police officer again, the most that she'll be able to do if she does get a job will be working security, even if they let her do that because she's a convict now. But she still has her pension. So she'll be able to live some sort of life after she gets out.
Mm.
So it's kind of sad, but
Yes.
like you said, we have to take the wins when we get it. And but I think her case, the Derek Chauvin trial and the George Floyd case, Minnesota has set the standard now for taking a look at the prosecution of a police officer in the matter of a heinous crime. We're still waiting to hear I believe the jury started deliberating in the 3 other officers who were charged in the George Floyd case as well. We're waiting to hear what's happening with them. So we'll see what their verdict is going to be, because they were trying to point the fingers at Derek Chauvin. They're trying to excuse their behavior. I feel sorry for one officer who was a rookie who questioned what they were doing, and he followed orders. So I don't see them being convicted as harshly as Derek Chauvin was, but I see at least 2 out of the 3 being convicted, maybe 1 getting probation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with their case. Going forwards, on a happy note, I should say on a sad note, our police chief, Eliot Isaac, has announced his retirement. His last day was February 18th. He officially will leave office in March. He's taking some vacation time. And it's so sorry to see him go. I really am. He did a good job. He stepped in at a very difficult time when he just became assistant police chief 2 months into the position. But he lasted 5 years. He did a good time. He got everyone through COVID from a safety standard. And so now we're going to see what the national search is going to bring. And the mayor has appointed Assistant Police Chief Thigpen to be the interim police chief. So she's the first white woman to head the Cincinnati Police Department. So we're going to see what she does in the interim, and then see who the city chooses matched from a national search as police chief, and just go from there. Also, on an interesting note, Coach Fickell of UC, who has done a fantastic job with the UC football program, got his contract extended. I know you're happy to hear about that, John.
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, he got extended until 2028. That's a really long time. So I'm glad about that, but I'm surprised it's so long though.
Well, I think they wanted to lock him in, lock him in for he's rebuilding a team, and he's probably lost some seniors and he's getting some freshmen and building up. So, maybe they're going to try and keep him as long as possible so they have a winning football seasons per se. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. He's done a lot with this football team.
He sure did.
It's been like the Bengals, it's been a long time coming to have a great college football team in the area. And I think, I look forward to not only the Bengals season, but I look forward to the Bearcats season. You always know the Bearcats basketball season, you're going to get great plays. You're going to get great athleticism. But from the football team, it's always been next year, next year. Now we can say yes next year. Can't wait to see what happens. So I think that's the best thing for the Bearcats that we have. So
and anything to keep Cincinnati in the national spotlight is always good with me.
So, but that's all the chocolate news that I have today.
So now let's move on to our main topic with Multicultural Outreach Manager of the Alzheimer's Association of Greater Cincinnati, Selene Holmes. How's it going, Selene?
Fine. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all. And she's here to talk about a new film. So, Selene, can you talk to us about that?
Well, it's Black History Month, and the theme for Black History Month is health and wellness for this year. And at the Alzheimer's Association, we always give education programs every month. But for this month, I selected a film that was created in Atlanta, and it's called Black Dementia Minds for Such a Time as This. And it's an unusual film because there's 7 people highlighted in this film who are living with dementia. And all of them are not over 65. There's some that are younger than 65. And so it's a religious-based program in that each of the advocates that are talking in this film, they relate their experience to some part of the Bible. And so there's a concentration on the book of Esther in the Bible, who, became a queen and wanted to save her people and that kind of thing. But so throughout the film, which is a 45-minute film, you're going to hear their faith-based messages. And then there's gospel music being played in between. And a lot of information is imparted in this. And it's heartfelt and it's interesting because these people are in the stage of dementia where they're still pretty coherent and they're living their lives. And so it's designed to spread awareness in the Black community. And that's the gist of the whole film. It was brought about by Dr. Fayon Epps, and she's an assistant professor and an educator in gerontology nursing at Emory University. And at that university, they have something called the Faith Village Research Lab, and they do a lot of work around Alzheimer's and dementia. So I also wanted to share with the audience, because everyone always asks, well, how do I know that if I might have symptoms, related to this, what would they be? And so I wanted to share the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. Because one thing in the African-American community that we should know is that our group of people are suffering from this disease and dying of it more than any other group. One of the reasons has to do with our lifestyle and health issues related to cardiovascular problems and the high incidence of diabetes, because both of those things can affect your brain. And the other thing is not getting an early diagnosis. So even if you're a normal person, when you go to the doctor, but more especially if you're over 65, you should ask your doctor for the basic tests, which at this point, it would be just written and verbal memory kind of tests. But one of the warning signs, which everybody knows about, would be memory loss. But it has to be memory loss that disrupts your daily life, because all of us forget dates and names and events from time to time, but those are your basic age-related issues. But when it is interrupting what you do every day and it interrupts other people around you, then you might have an issue. And then there becomes a challenge in planning and solving problems, because some people living with dementia, they might experience changes in their ability to develop or follow a plan or work with numbers, or have trouble, with recipes and making food that they normally know how to make, and then they can't do it in the right sequence or with the right ingredients. but all of us make occasional errors, like, everybody might forget a bill every now and then. Those are normal things. And then there's the difficulty completing familiar tasks. Some people find it hard to do things they're always used to doing, or trouble driving, which is a big one, shows up every time. And we counsel people who have these issues. We have nurses and social workers on our team who will work with families. Like, we have a script that you can use for getting your relatives who shouldn't be in a car anymore to not drive. And then there's confusion with time or place, because people with this disease can lose track of dates and seasons and even the passage of time. I know my mother had Alzheimer's before she passed, and she wouldn't recognize holidays or know that it's a holiday, or that it was summertime instead of wintertime, and those kinds of things. But every now and then, everybody gets confused about the day of the week or what day it is, and that's typical age-related change. And then there's trouble understanding visual and images and spatial relationships. This comes with the vision problems and judging distance and colors and contrast. That's why a lot of people should not be driving anymore. And the sixth warning sign is new problems in speaking and writing. People with Alzheimer's might have trouble following a conversation, or they might stop in the middle of a conversation, have no idea how to continue, or, and a lot of times they repeat themselves a lot. And then there's misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace our steps. Now, we all do that, all ages. That's why they have trackers for everything now. But say, for instance, you put your purse down in the living room and then you forgot it was there, and you go all around the house looking for the purse, and you have no idea that you left it in the living room, and you can't retrace because your thought process is not allowing you to do that. And there's decreased or poor judgment. And this is where a lot of seniors run into problems, because they become targets of scams, because they want to talk to strangers on the phone or on the computer. And this is how they can lose their money, because, they're trusting and their judgment is off. And you might notice in a person their withdrawal, excuse me, from work or social activities. So they might lose interest in their regular hobbies, going to their social group meetings and other outings, and just feeling disinterested in all of that. And the last one is very noticeable to people around a person who's experiencing that, and it's changes in mood and personality. So if you notice any of these 10 points among people around you, in your family or among your friends, it's time to see a doctor. And you can call the Alzheimer's Association for more assistance, because all of our programs and services are free. And you can reach us by calling 800-272-3900, and that's a 24/7 number.
Well,
Real
thank you.
quick,
Go ahead, Andrea.
Well, no, I was just going to say, is where is the film going to be shown? I didn't hear.
The film is through Zoom,
Okay.
and you can sign up. You have to register at the 800 number, and I'll repeat that again. It's 800-272-3900. And the registration is going to cut off probably by Friday or Saturday, and you'll receive a link to join us on Zoom on next Monday, February 28th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yes, that's fascinating. And that sounds like it's going to be a great film. And thank you for bringing so much attention to Alzheimer's. It's a very noble cause.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, no problem at all. So now we'll switch over to Morgan Angelique Owens, where she will enlighten us with some beauty, lifestyle, and culture. So take it away, Morgan.
All right. Thank you, John. So this week we have another special guest. She's been here with us before. I told you all we are partnering with this series to help entrepreneurs grow. There's Herald Beauty, but we have a lot of people that are in the beauty business. But, for me, I do other things. So it's just great information, actually, for, not even if you're a business owner, just in general. So I'm happy to have Candace Bates back with us again. Hey, Candace.
Hey, Morgan.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here again.
Yes. And I know we haven't talked since last time, but you've been up to some amazing things, going on world tour with the Bengals and doing boss babe stuff. So, so welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a good journey. It was exciting. Sad that we lost, but it was so exciting.
Hey, they had a really good year, so we can't complain. We'll take
That's
it.
right.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Yep.
So just reintroduce yourself for the audience in case they missed you last time.
Sure. So I am Candace Bates. I am the agency owner of State Farm Insurance, located downtown Cincinnati, specifically in OTR. And I serve communities here in the downtown area for insurance needs. And also I have an insurance license in Kentucky. So Ohio and Kentucky are my coverage areas. And I'm just happy to, be an entrepreneur and to partner with other businesses, hopefully so we can support each other.
Yes, love it, love it. Now, we did a talk in January, just, beginning of the new year, some new goals. So make sure you all check that article out. It's on my blog, but it's also online for Herald Beauty. And if you get the newspaper, of course, it's in there. So make sure you're following along with all these great tips. Make sure that you reach out to Candace to get information that you need. So, we're in February, which is my birthday month, but, it's okay. I'll share it with everybody else. But, and of course, we had Valentine's Day. So, as entrepreneurs, business owners, or just in general personal life, what are some self-love, self-care options that we should be looking into, Candace?
Sure. So when it comes to insurance, thinking about self-love and self-care, it lends me to think about life insurance. And life insurance is, something that extends to those that we love. Because if we were no longer here, I like to say it yesterday, then it puts our family in a situation where they can grieve in grace. And that's just something to think about. We should always kind of think about these things. I know it's a delicate subject for most, but if we don't talk about it, when it's time for us to talk about it, and it's just brass tacks, we won't be prepared. Right. And so preparation is key. And I want to help those that are interested, in preparing for the future. And a part of that is regarding life insurance. And again, it's all a part of love.
Yes, it is. And that's good for anybody, right? And I'm sure there's some intricate details when it comes to like owning a business and including that in your life insurance. I assume so, but you're the expert. So I'll default that question to you.
Sure. Life insurance, when it comes to business owners, definitely is very, very important, because having a business, what happens to your business if you're no longer here? Right. So thinking about a contingency plan for entrepreneurs is very important. Having that written out and maybe sharing it with someone that you feel confident in sharing that with, or writing it up and then putting it someplace secure so that someone can get it, a power of attorney, or someone can get it if you're no longer here. So it's very important. These life insurance policies are very important, especially for entrepreneurs, because if they, I'm just thinking about an entrepreneur that may not have the corporate backing. They're in charge of health insurance, life insurance, everything, all insurance. Right. So having these things in place as an entrepreneur is very important, because this means you're getting your business in order. And right. That's what's important. Yeah, getting your business straight.
Now, what about if, you don't have a family, or single, no kids? How important is life insurance? Like the process, like when's the right age? Like what time in your life should you be looking into having life insurance?
That's a great question. Someone can purchase life insurance for a newborn. But if it is, if someone, is single and young and thinking about it, no kids and not married, life insurance, to me, as an insurance professional, that's the best time to get it, because you're just buying it for yourself. You're young, and the way the rates are, Typically, you can get a good rate for you being young and not having any children and married, and you can lock that rate in. If it's a permanent policy, you can lock the rate in forever. And that's the best part. So if you lock in, for an example, just hypothetically, if you lock in a $25 rate and someone is, 28 years old, guess what? You can secure that rate permanently, depending on which life insurance policy that you choose. So having something like that is great. And another advantage of a permanent policy is that there is a cash, accumulation that could, it could increase over time. And that's always good to have because, right now you may not have a house. Right now you may not have the type of car that you want to drive or be able to take the vacations that you want to. But if you buy a life insurance policy and you just let it sit there, over time, it can accrue interest. And once it accrues that interest, it's all yours. And you can do whatever you want with that money. So you could almost call it like a tax-free savings account if you wanted to, think about it in a different way.
Oh, wow. I learned something new today. I didn't know that. Oh my goodness. Well, we can go on and on. I have so many questions now, but we got to make sure you tune back in, everyone, because like I said, the next couple months, Candace is going to be with me talking about more important information. Candace, how can people reach out and book a session with you if they have questions?
Sure. So I am on most of the social media websites. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and I'm all under Candace Bates Insurance. And so if you just key in Candace Bates Insurance, I should pop up and you will find my contact information. That includes my phone number, which is 513-837-2744. My address is 26 West 13th Street. And that's specifically in OTR. So if you wanted to come down to talk to me, I welcome you here in my office. Would enjoy having you here. But if you would like a Zoom meeting, I'm able to meet you right where you're at. So call me. Let's talk about this life insurance thing because it's so important.
Perfect. And like we said, February is the month of love. So let's all love ourselves and do things that maybe pushes us out of our comfort zone, like life insurance. So thank you, Candace, so much for being with us again. We always enjoy you here on the Chocolate News podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Morgan.
Yes. All right, John, back over to you.
Thanks, Morgan. Well, everyone, that's it for today's show. Thanks, Andria, for coming on discussing all the good chocolate news.
Thank you, John.
You can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Facebook mobile app, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. I'm John Alexander Reese, and have a good day.